What up, what up? Good morning. Sorry I'm a minute late. Just trying to get everything together here. Hope everyone's feeling well. It is Wednesday. It is Fed Day. We're in the middle of all these earnings. Things are moving around. Everyone's trying to figure out, is the low of the year in? Are we at peak inflation, peak hawkishness? Are things better than feared? This, that, this. Meanwhile, it feels like all of us are under a little bit of pressure, right? Pressure to make money, pressure not to get caught, pressure to be involved. But you know what? You don't have to be involved. You can pick your spots. You could figure out what's worth it, what's not worth it, and just try and keep yourself safe and sound and keep your brain intact so this way when things are ready for you to jump on, you can do so. Anyway, let me put the chart up so you can look at the S&P cash while I say hello to some of my dogs around the world. What up, Franco? What up, Teaching Joe? How you doing? We got Thomas in the house from Palm Beach. Rise and grind each day. I'll tell you, today I opened my eyes around 4:40 and I was like, oh, Wednesday, Fed Day, earnings, so much going on. But I'm like, you know what? That's when you got to get yourself going. That's when you got to get your coffee and you got to get in your seat and prepare so this way you can make the right decisions at the right time. Whether to salvage a trade, whether to pounce on a trade, whether to net money in a trade, and just make sure you have your right prices. Because I know guys trying to be short losing money, guys trying to be long losing money, guys trying to be safe, and it hasn't been a very easy take for anyone who's been doing this for a few years or 40 years. So don't let anyone fool you. If someone tells you they're killing it, well, congratulations to them, because I tend to think that's a little hard to believe. But anyway, there are things to do. There are ways to net money. And it just feels like the market's a little predatory, where as soon as things feel like they're ready to roll over, they trap some shorts. As soon as they feel like they look good, you can't buy it because, again, we're still in this bear market. We still are on the verge of what could be the definition of a recession or not. And, when that's happening, you just got to take a little step back. Getting a little dizzy, I hear you. Might as well go to camp and do some dizzy izzies. At least maybe you'll fall into some girl's lap versus on the floor in your office. Anyway, you guys see Yellowstone when they were doing the dizzy izzies in the cowboy bin? It's funny. Anyway, so here we are. Okay. Yesterday, we had Microsoft and Google. They were both in kind of an odd spot where it seemed as if everyone was a little fearful of what Microsoft would say and Google. And on the daily charts, each one of them were kind of set up and looked like they were about to take another leg lower. And then they didn't. They're not in anywhere special land. They're both where they were, I think, Monday. But they're not giving you like follow through or the easy type of trade, and the trade that seems as if it's like a little obvious. The obvious trade's just not working either which way. So. And then one day the narrative changes, from day to day. So anyway, let's take just a quick look. So here's the S&P cash. So from the red dog reversal that happened on July 14th at 37.60, that did give you a pretty systematic move up to 4,002. Okay, so right there that was like 300 handles. And then from there you had that Friday red dog reversal, and then it looked like maybe we can go sideways. And then yesterday we broke 39.22, and now here we are, up 35 handles, right back in the range. So I think what traders are trying to figure out in their head over the next 2 to 4 weeks, does the S&P have enough power? Is there enough better than feared results, or at least past hawkishness with the Fed to get us to 4,073 or maybe even up to 41.76? Or was this your bounce, and are we heading back down to retest 36.36? And every day kind of feels like some days I'm neutral, some days I'm feeling neutral to positive with a few more positions, some days I'm feeling neutral to negative, and I'm just shifting. I'm trying to just stay in the situation day to day, week by week. But then I also have my intermediate long investing and my long term, which I did tell you. If you go to the weekly chart here, I've only put in 2 tiers of my long-term money. Okay, the blood on the street account was put in twice, once here and once there, and now I'm waiting. You've had a bit of a rally off this. I guess you could raise the line here now because that's your new point of reference. And some think this is like a rising wedge. that's going to break to the downside, and others like, hey, maybe we could see a little bit more of a move back before taking a turn, whenever that turn is. So at this point, long term, make sure you're putting in monthly flows in every single month. It doesn't matter. Okay, 401k every month, 529 every month. If you have a cash account, long term, I would think 50% should be in, and then hold tight on the other 50%. If you trade for a living, let's go back to some levels. So if you go back to the daily chart, what'll be interesting on the Qs, let's go to the Qs because that's where some of the action is right now. Okay, obviously they had to bring the Qs in literally for 3 days, okay, and close near the lows for before you get Microsoft and Google. So if you go to the Qs real quickly, the Qs right now are at 298.66. So basically the Qs adjusted yesterday's highs. So sometimes you could trap the bears. Okay, how do you trap the bears? Well, anyone that went out short thinking we're going to break down to the bottom end of this trend line, okay, are thinking, what do I do here? Do I add a little bit to my shorts and try and salvage a trade? And I don't think, or maybe people just bought into this, which to me is hard, back below the moving averages. It didn't look like a buy into the close, but you could have bought a little bit of stuff after hours if you trade after hours. But either which way, this is like your pivot. Right now we're right around it. Is it going to get above and trap this day of sellers and all the people get out and then start to move back up, or is this going to be resistance where it opens up here, and do they sell any strength? If they just sell any strength, then you just really have to be very careful on your prices. We do have the Fed coming in today at 2 o'clock, and I don't think they're going to switch their positioning. They have to stay hawkishness. They're going to do price 0.75 basis point, but chances are that will be the last of that, and then come September, I would think they do another quarter, and then I would think it could be over, and then maybe better action in the fall. But we have to get to the fall, and we have to get through these days. So just don't do too much if you're getting spun around. You think they surprise with 100 basis points? I don't think so, to be honest. If they did, I guess in the knee-jerk reaction would probably be down first and then maybe up, but I have a feeling it's going to be 75. Why would they do something surprising now? There's no need. It's not like oil's at $145 a barrel. It's not. We've seen some indication that we do have peak inflation, so they don't need to do something like that. And then and then look what do you think will happen to the U.S. dollar if they do that? But anyway, so let's see that doesn't happen. So Microsoft basically did a little cute accounting trick, so this way they didn't have to pre-announce the rest of the year. So we'll see, does Microsoft, I think Microsoft's going to be a good sentiment indicator today to figure out whether or not they could sell the first half an hour or not. Right now, if you look at Microsoft, it's at 261.35. Right here is yesterday's high, okay, of 261. Okay, so this is 260. Let's see. Hold on a second here. This is this is 259.88. So 260. So my thought process is, if sellers come in just to try and if you went long Microsoft after hours and you were there when the conference call happened, I'm sure some people will be trimming into that. It was a good after hours trade. But this to me would be kind of like your line in the sand. If they can't bring it in, okay, and they could hold it above 260, then chances are, maybe this starts a new move towards 265 or 269. If all of a sudden, they open it up at 261.35, and if the high of the day is in the first 5, 15, 30 minutes and just fades all day, it's just going to be one of those days where, they're selling strength. Because as of now, if you look at the long-term chart of Microsoft is really nowhere. Okay, so all it is right back into this friggin' wedge. Looked as if the better setup would be if it was down $20, but it's not. So it is what it is. So for today, does it hold 260 or not? If it holds 260 and everyone's selling it and there are buyers there, chances are that'll help the Qs and help tech. Google looks a little weaker. Didn't obviously have a snap type quarter, but still wasn't a great quarter. It just wasn't enough for it to make lower lows. So if you look here at Google, Google that just closed at the lows of this lower area after coming from 151. So literally it pulled in 45% from the highs already. So the report wasn't enough, to bring in sellers. Their core business was pretty good. Their advertising around YouTube was a little soft, but YouTube itself, Google itself just wasn't enough. So who loses? Me. I have a put spread on, so that's going to go worthless. Thank goodness, I took off a third into the close because I bought it earlier in the week and I made some money there. But it is what it is. Better than going out short Google into the print. So now here's where Google is. So Google is really nowhere. 108.69. It's up a measly 3%. So, for today also, here's 107.20. This, all that does is get you right back into this lower area, which is the lower quadrant of this lower range. So where's Google? It's freaking nowhere. But so I would say watch this 107.20. If the sellers try and bring it in and they can't, then maybe I guess there's room to 109.87, and that's where that is. So all in all, these are your little levels to watch. But again, it's like nothing compelling. It would have been nice if all of a sudden you go to your weekly chart. If Google was horrendous, then it could have been cool. Then it could have broken this spot, and then maybe you made some money short. You could have been buying the 200-day down to 97, but that's not what happened. So right now it just creates this choppy trade. I'll hear you. You can take your 3% every day. Listen, nobody gets poor taking 3% every day, but are you going to take it? Where do you own it from? Did you buy it after hours? I bought a little bit after hours. I traded it, and still it was hard. You had one move, and now it's choppy. So the fastest moves are the false moves, unfortunately. And then once the setup's there, then the setups haven't had much follow through, which is what a lot of traders are out there are having problems with. You know what had follow through? My best trade. What's my best trade for? If you guys from the Alpha team are watching, what's been my best trade for the past week? What's been the last trade? I like Can You Make Money with Stocks? Willie O'Neill. That's a good one. Okay. RDBX was not my best trade. My best trade actually is this, friggin' a monkeypox stock. So a lot of guys on the VTF brought it up. Okay, you don't see a lot of charts like this, even though it was sloppy. So what did I do the first time when it's sloppy like this? I put on options right in here. Everyone was talking about how this is going to be the next monkeypox stock. I'm like, okay, let me take a look at it. We watched it in here. It kept up, held up, because I had options, not stock, and I was away on Friday. I held through this, and I had what calls do I have? I had the $15 calls. So I didn't get. Sometimes when you have a concept play like this, which is a story stock, you're better to just go with options because the trade could be violent. And then yesterday it triggered over 1634 and held. So I actually day traded. Holy cow, I day traded a stock that got above a prior high and had some follow through. So anyway, that was a good day trading stock. You could actually buy through a level and get paid. And then we took some overnight, and I think I think it's up a little bit. It was up a little bit more because I think there was some news that the Biden administration wants to give like $7 billion towards monkeypox. So SIGA is what? It's actually pulling in a little bit. It's only at 18.20, but that's 4.4%. You said you would take 3%. I'll take 4.4%. But again, unfortunately, there are no, when you're in a bull market, you get bull flags, you get breakouts, you can hold them, you get follow through, you buy through a level, it gets to another level, versus trading ranges, false breakouts, false breakdowns, big gaps the next day, misdirection, and that's basically, what we've been getting here. Even guys like, I love Oxy. Well, don't take too many painkillers, and I'm talking about the stock, not the drug. You still look here. This was a nice active sequence to the upside before putting your reversal in and breaking it. But like, look how choppy this move was. And I did say yesterday, I'm like, guys, if you went long through 63, trim into strength, and then look at this bearish reversal candle. Did it have to be so extreme? But anyway, it's just the market we're in. It's July 27th. We are in this phase where the Fed's trying to bring back liquidity, and they have to run off their balance sheet, and they have to get rid of the excess of the past decade because they gave out way too much free money during the pandemic. And inflation happened, and it's friggin' hurting a lot of families around the world. So they have to say, for those who are on just guaranteed money or salaries that don't fluctuate, everything in their lives started to get more expensive. So they have to make them cheaper so they could afford their daily lives. But anyway, so the Fed's doing this on purpose. I did see an article which I thought was a little tricky, a little eye-opening, saying that in China, real estate prices should fall 30%, which in 2007, 2008, they only fell 20%. So they're saying the real estate crisis in China could be worse than it was in 2007-8. And if you remember here, that was a great recession. Not that it was great, it sucked, but there was a lot of opportunities for those who had money. But everyone's talking about how this is a recession, and to me, it doesn't really feel like a recession because you have still, I know 5 different types of businesses that want workers and they can't find them, from high quality workers to essential workers, and these jobs are open. I don't know anyone that's out of work, so that part of it's just starting. You're starting to see 10% layoffs or slow down in hiring. You're starting to see real estate come in, but they're only coming in from, instead of having 30 people overbid for a house, now maybe it's going for the offering. Okay, now they got to start falling 10, 20% to correct some prices so people who want in the real estate market can get in there. But anyway, let's talk about the Fed today. Let's go to the SPYs for a sec. So here are your levels. I would not chase the open, but sometimes they have a bid in the market all the way to like 1 o'clock, and then at 1 o'clock things fade, based on the fact that the Fed's going to come out at 2 o'clock. Usually there's like 2 or 3 or 4 false moves once, the news starts coming out. So don't get sucked in. Sometimes they say the first move is the wrong move, but there's a bunch of moves. Usually you don't get a real move until like 3:15 to the end of the day, and then that's when sometimes you get a better trend move. And typically the day after the Fed, which is tomorrow, is when you get some kind of trend day. And sometimes it's the opposite of the last hour of today. So you have all these things to consider besides Meta coming out after the close and Apple and Amazon tomorrow. So at this point, just try and net money. Try not to get too over your skis. Like yesterday, my thought process was, hey, if the market's any good, Tesla, right? Tesla came out with numbers. They bought it. It cleared this 760-ish area, cleared 760, went to 840, which I did tell you would be resistance right there. Came in, and then that was Friday, and then on Monday it broke 812, went to 802. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're gonna, day 3 down, they'll buy Tesla to go green. And me, I screwed it up. Looked a little strong pre-market. I bought a little bit around 795, 796. Looked like it was going to go green. I added through 800. Thought it would reclaim 802, and I figured, hey, they'll go green a few dollars. And then within, 3 minutes, it was back at 797. I got stopped out at 792, and I lost $5,000 doing a whole lot of nothing. And then I got away from it, and then it went as low as 768. So because I was over fast and didn't want to miss a trade, I lost like $5,000 plus. And I was wrong, but I could have then said, oh, I'm going to be right, and I could have bought it the whole way down and lost $50,000. And anyway, so now Tesla's up a little bit today, so I'd watch Tesla a little bit, see if sellers return. It's up 13. Oh, what a pain in the ass. So Tesla's at 790. This was 792. This was that pivot. So I guess I would think I wouldn't be buying Tesla up 13. Maybe you see divergence where the market continues to go up, it doesn't go up, and you could short verse that. But ultimately, that's probably pissing people off too. Anyone who tried to buy a dip yesterday thinking, hey, day 3 down, responded well to earnings, now it's up 13. So I think you could fade Tesla versus the first 5-15 minutes. I wouldn't be buying it in the first 5-15 minutes, especially the way it came down. But that's me. But what you got to do is you got to watch to see, does Microsoft and Google hold up? If Microsoft and Google don't hold up, then Tesla's not going to hold up. You got to connect your dots and trade. You have to look for clues. So with that being said, just don't blindly short the open because we're going in a recession. The Fed's going to raise rates, but you can't just feel like you're missing out and get in there so fast either. So it's a patience man's game, and it's a tricky time. And it's very predatory. These computers are getting much better. There's so many computers out there, and all they want to do is steal your lunch, breakfast, dinner, and your IPAs, and your iced coffee. So don't let it happen. So really wait to see, the signal before you do it. And if you anticipate, sometimes you could be right. And my instincts from my seat time from doing this 22 years usually are really spot on. But sometimes when they're not, you cost yourself money on a day that it doesn't need to happen. So we'll see what happens today. Watch Microsoft, see if it holds that level. What was the level that I just told you to reiterate? So see if Microsoft could hold this 260. If Microsoft holds 260 and doesn't put the high in the day in the first 5-15 minutes, chances are there's some room up to 265. Google, I showed you the level, and watch Tesla to see up $13 after being so weak yesterday. I wouldn't chase it. Maybe there's a fade there, and then again, don't do too much because there's gonna be a lot of action at 2 o'clock. So just be patient and know your levels, and we'll figure it out from there. What was the MBIO volume spike yesterday? To be honest, I don't know. Some think that it was the CEO doing another inside purchase because the last time he bought stock was 3.25, and whoever was supposed to work the order for it just put a market order in, so his full million shares just goosed the market. So we'll see in the next few days if we get a filing showing that the insiders bought stock, because the company itself is doing fantastic. The small cap bios are just horrendous. So it's not even supposed to be in your trading account. It's supposed to be an IRA. So, but either which way, it was good to see 3 million plus shares yesterday. So we'll see. So again, 260 there for Microsoft, for Google. This is 107.20 and then 109.90, and then for Tesla, the resistance is 792-ish again. So those are your levels to see. At first kiss, can you fade them, or do they hold them and do they run them into the Fed, and then we'll see where we are then. Every day you feel like every hour is kind of different. Like some of these things are trading by appointments, where just because it was strong in the first hour of the day, it doesn't mean it's strong in the second hour of the day. Just because something was strong the day before doesn't mean it's strong the day after. Sometimes it was weak. So when you have lack of continuity like that, it makes it trickier. So just know that exists and, trade accordingly. Good luck today, guys.